All right, so I have the time as being 6:30. Just want to confirm once again, Theology 207, Understanding the New Testament. Speak now or hold your peace. So you should be able to access the Canvas page, to be able to access the syllabus, to see all the basic informations. Biggest thing is this is a class about studying the New Testament, the latter half of the Bible, in particular focusing a lot on the Gospels. Get into a lot of that, what all those words means and what all it's about later on. So you should have two texts. If you are having issues with the texts, I know shipping is very crazy right now. If you are having issues, please contact me so that I can get you at least the readings that you need until you get your books. The first one should be Introduction to the Bible by Kugler and Harkin. I never remember the last name. I know it's an H at least. And then you should have a copy of the Ignatius study version of the New Testament. You at least have a copy of the whole Bible, that'll work as well. So we will be meeting here every Tuesday evening, 6:30 to 9. I will break it up, so we'll have a break. We'll do this class in 2 sections each night. So there will be a break, so don't fear that you're literally going to be stuck in your chair for ad nauseum. It's at least the winter session. The sun's going to be coming to feed later and later, so at least there's some sunlight versus the fall when it gets darker and darker and darker. We all go crazy. So everything and anything that you will need is going to be posted on campus. I am doing this in conjunction with 2 other online sections, plus, of course, we need to be ready just in case, hopefully not an issue, but just in case we have to go fully online. So everything you will need beyond those books, everything should be put up online through campus. For example, you should have seen a reading for this week's class, a link to a document called Dei Verbum, the Word of God. So examples like that will be there. This class will have various assessments, of course. Each week, there will be a participation quiz that will usually get published by about the end of the week, usually Thursday or Friday. We do by the next class. 10 points usually each for those. There will be various writing assignments called reading journals. For example, you already have one that will be due next week. This one will be more of a reflection. That I just want to know, what's your understanding of what we're going to be covering? What do you understand? What do you think? What do you believe about this New Testament? What does it mean to you? You know, don't just say that, well, I have to take this class, I'm just doing it. Give me a little bit more than that. There will, of course, be exams, midterm, final. Midterm probably about March 2nd, whatever that week is. Final, the Tuesday of finals, I think it's like April 26th or 27th, something like that. Same time, same point. There will also be a project a little individual project that you'll be working on near the end, looking into one of the epistles or letters. And some of those details will be published and given out kind of later in class as we get closer to it. So for now, any questions or immediate concerns that you have, as always, feel free to direct them to me. My information is not only on the syllabus, but it's also found on the course essentials page, along with my my office hours, email, and office phone. So if you need anything, if you have questions, you have concerns, contact me, reach out to me. So what What is so important about the New Testament? In particular, as we're going to be studying it, or about the Bible in overall. Obviously, it is important, first of all, because it is a religious text and a text of one of the most populous religions in the world and in history. Christianity. Christianity sees the Bible, no matter which group or denomination. Christianity sees the Bible, and in particular, the New Testament, as we'll define and distinguish from the Old Testament, as their foundational sacred texts. What is so important about this? Because it is this text that is meant to reveal, to open to us, it is believed, the truth. The truths that are so essential to know, to understand. Truths about what? Truths about that which is perhaps beyond our immediate perception. Truths about God, truths about life, truths about the universe, about the goal, the purpose, the end of all of this. Every religion has sacred texts on which to consider, to meditate, that are the foundation for many of the teachings that develop later on. And it is no different in Christianity. The Bible is seen as the revelation of God, as we'll talk about later in this class. It is the revelation to help us to know, because we believe it is impossible for us to know the whole truth on our own, by our mere reason or by our mere faculties of intellect and will and understanding. So it is that we believe the Bible contains these truths that help animate how we are to conduct ourselves, what we are to do. Now, the influence of the Bible is not just merely religious. It's not just focused merely on those who are practicing. It is cultural as well, especially Western culture, Western civilization of the past millennium or millennium and a half. In a part of the world that has been, up to this point, heavily Christianized, heavily influenced by Christians of all types, the Bible finds its way into many things. Into the culture, into the law, into education, into literature. All of this is influenced by that, whether directly, whether kind of citing or quoting, or indirectly. The mindsets, the ideas, the concepts. So to understand the Bible is to be able to understand Western civilization. To be able to understand why we are where we are now in many ways. Some of the many ideas and concepts that exist. Even in an age that is decreasingly, that is opposite or seems to leave much of Christianity. Many of these things that we find in here, in particular in the New Testament, continue to influence and shape the thoughts of people, even those who profess not to necessarily be Christian. Its influence has been felt tremendously, so that cannot be ignored. Even if you don't believe it, even if you think it's all bunk or debased, it is good to understand it so as to be able to understand where we are now. What you do with it is ultimately up to you. But we must know where we have come from in order to know where to go from here. But not only that, we need to also understand where it came from, how it came about. I think some people have this serious idea, not just of the Bible, maybe the sacred text, that, they just kind of magically came into the world at some point. That's nowhere close to the truth. In particular, as we will see in looking at the New Testament, it didn't just appear right before us in a nice, easily understandable English. It came about in various ways. It emerged in a culture that's somewhat different than ours, foreign than ours, not just because of time, because of its influence, a different language even. For example, those are the first two words of the Gospel of John in Greek, in the Greek in which the New Testament was composed. Does that even look like a language that you know of? Probably not. It looks nothing like the Latin letters that we're used to, let alone it being even different words, a different language that could have different implications. What we understand as the Bible that we may perhaps normally read or encounter is a translation. And often it is difficult to convey what is being said from the original text. There's an Italian proverb about translators. Traditore, traduttore. Translators are traitors. Because often they have to betray the original meaning to try to express it in some way. So that is part of what we are going to see in here, is trying to grasp as much as possible what is actually being said by the text. Not just necessarily what our translation is, although we do need to translate at times, but what is being conveyed or what is lost in translation. Some things that not just necessarily we don't understand the word, perhaps we don't understand the cultural context in which that word was used. Arche, for example, right here. The first words of John, as we normally translate, in the beginning. Arche kind of can have a hierarchical meaning as well. The archelaus can be the king or the leader, and the one from the beginning of power, you could say. So in what way is this meant to be a beginning, for example? So we have that to look at as well. Also, though we normally deal with the Bible as one book, it is actually a compilation of various works. First of all, as we'll see, there's the division between the Old and the New Testament. We'll discuss further what that means in that division. But even in the New Testament is divided up into 27 different works. In a few different genre or style of writing. The first 4 books, for example, are called Gospels. They are the texts that we're going to be focusing on primarily. Why? Because they talk to us about the most central figure of Christianity, the one after which the religion is named, Jesus of Nazareth, or Jesus the Christ. About his life, about his works, his words, his death, and his resurrection. They express to us all of this, though they do it each in their own different way. Some similarities, but some differences. Acts of the Apostles, a historical work about the early church for the first 20 or 30 years. The majority of the New Testament are epistles, letters, written to various groups from different people. Paul, Peter, John, James, Jude. The last book of the New Testament, the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation. One everybody likes to do, the very apocalyptic text. The end of the world, the end of things, final battle, and all of that. Each of them were not written by the same author, at least humanly speaking. Each of them is written in a different way, or each of them has their own uniqueness to it. It's not the same as if we pick up a work of Shakespeare, or if we pick up, the assembled works of Harry Potter. They're not the same theme. They're not necessarily the same work. So we must understand what these works are in order to begin to dive into them. Now, of course, we also need to understand the very principles behind all of this. Why is it that these texts are considered sacred? These are not the only writings that we have concerning Christianity from the first century of its existence. Why is it, though, these texts are different? Why are they so special? Why are they so important? For these are not the only works written by Christians. There are numerous people who have written, numerous believers in Jesus Christ who have written, but why are these so important, so special? That's where we have to begin, first and foremost. We need to understand why they have been put together, why they exist in this way, before we can then dive into the text itself. But then looking at it further, diving into it further, what is being revealed to us? That is ultimately what we see the Bible as being. And it is revelation. Sometimes I can spell. As we'll talk about in the latter half of the Bible is seen as the revelation of God. Revelation of this being beyond this universe, though reflected, remarked in this, to speak something to humanity, to all of humanity. Something about truth, something about goodness, something about happiness. All this begins to be revealed here in the Bible. Now, first and foremost, we are going to be looking at this from primarily a Catholic angle. We are a Catholic institution. I'm a Catholic priest. So that is the basic formation behind which we have this perspective. This is obviously not, of course, every Christian's perspective on the Bible. But we believe this is how best to understand it from our background. Now, we can obviously have some differences or disagreements. You do not have to become a Catholic to pass this class. I would never ask that of you. You need to understand the material, yes. You need to understand the subject, yes. You're adults, you form your opinions and decisions for yourself. I can't force you to do it just to pass my class. That's why first and foremost, I want to understand where you're coming from. That's why I have that first assignment. I want to understand where you are coming from in entering into this class. So feel free to be honest, not maybe brutally honest, but at least to be honest. Do you believe? Do you not believe? Are you a Christian or are you not a Christian?
Hey,
do you think some of it's true? Do you think all of it's true? Whatever. Feel free to let me know.
Professor Straub.
I'm sorry, I got a question from the Zoom.
Do you want us to just read both of the books first before we respond to that, or just respond in our own words?
You can go ahead and respond in your own words. You don't necessarily need to, the readings are not, they might help you flesh out some things, maybe some ideas of how to put them into your own words. But this one is at least more of a personal reflection. So you don't feel like you need to be obligated to incorporate the readings in there. The other assignments will have more incorporation of that in there as well. So this one, like I said, more of a personal reflection.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeah, because that was my same question answer sheet because I didn't have my book yet.
All right. Any other questions? In talking about and looking about this, we must understand, in looking at all of this, the background behind why things are the way they are. But also, the whole purpose of this institution, of this university, is the pursuit of truth. Being a Catholic institution, we believe that that truth is found ultimately in God and in Jesus Christ. These texts, this New Testament, this Bible, we believe are some of the foundational texts to help us know that truth so as to be able to then live it out. Just as we need to understand moral principles to be able to understand what is right and wrong, what is good or what is just, how to be prudent, things like that, we must also know and understand truth. You may call it proselytization, we just call it education. You will get out of this class as much as you want to put into it. Like I said before, I'm not going to make you convert. I'm just going to present it to you from the Catholic perspective. We may talk about differences. In particular, of course, differences between Catholics and Protestants that can differ in some of these perspectives and saying, how these things are viewed. But we can do that respectfully between each other, between yourself and myself. If you have issues or concerns or questions, and you want to talk about it after class, we can certainly talk about it after class. We can talk about it in class. I don't want you to feel pressure just because I'm wearing this. I can handle your questions. I can handle your differences. All right? As long as you respect me, I will respect you in that. That's what I ask in conducting these classes. Okay? So, questions, thoughts, comments on any of that?
I did want to say, doesn't the Old Testament and New Testament kind of contradict each other?
We'll talk about that some as we go through class.
Okay.
We will discuss that, absolutely. That's a good question. Thank you for asking that. Anyone else? Any other questions or thoughts? Nothing? So, I especially want to address, any concerns or worries just with quarantine isolation or concerns or whatnot. I'm going to be teaching this the same exact way in this class, here in person live, and online. We will be recording this and posting these lectures online. If you feel if you feel concerned for your safety and you would prefer to maybe do online, I will certainly be willing to put you on to one of the online sections. I'm not going to force you into that, but I want to do that especially for the in-person, because I will admit I have quite a few who would like to do it in person. So if you're in the in-person section, I believe that's section 2, but you feel that for your safety, for your concern, and validly don't think that you can be in person, then we can discuss moving you into one of the other online sections.
Is the in-person the same time as this one is now?
So, I will be doing in person 6:30 to 9.
Okay, so same.
Every Tuesday. The online is basically self-paced. There's one that the section 3 is kind of meant to be following on through Zoom. Section 1 is kind of more self-paced. So, but either way, I'm treating them kind of more as what's the word? More kind of online. So if you if you're interested in that, we can talk about that kind of in between or after class. Now, for all of you, this will be kind of the shortest session. We'll go ahead and take a quick little break, about 10 minutes. For those of you on Zoom, I record using Zoom, so I will have to sign off and then sign back on so that it starts processing the recording. But we will come back on, and we will then, what time is it now? 6:55? Not bad. So we will start back up at 7:05. And we'll start with our first full lesson, looking at this subject of revelation. What is revelation? What does it mean? How is it that we even get this text? Where does it come from? Kind of the theology of revelation, the background behind all of that. So we'll come back, we'll assemble, and talk about that at 7:05. We'll see you all then.